This video presentation is made possible by the SLO County Department of Education and the SLO Co-Arts Collaborative. For over a century, the Central Coast of California has been a haven for people from all walks of life. Pioneers, entrepreneurs, farmers, innovators, artists, dreamers. People escaping the city life to find beautiful landscapes, rich culture, seeking prosperity, and most importantly, joy. For a lot of us, we find joy in art, whether we're makers or just lucky enough to enjoy the art of others.
Hi, I'm Peter Henry Schroeder. I'm a local documentary filmmaker here in San Luis Obispo County. I invite you to come with me now as we actually get to go talk to some of these artists firsthand and learn about what makes them tick. What are some of the challenges they face and how do they do this on a day-to-day basis? Where does their inspiration come from and how do they actually find the joy in their art? What really gives them that creative juice?
Being outside, taking photos, that's what I really love about photography. It's that moment, being out there, capturing it. Even if I don't get a good photo, I'm out there. And also when I get back, especially if I'm shooting film, I like being in the darkroom. I like being able to kind of mess around with things, hands-on. Seeing that print the first time it comes out of the developer, and when that paper turns white, shows any type of image, I will never get over that magic, and that's probably my favorite part about analog photography. So I remember like the first rolls of film, you couldn't see anything. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I had a flash on there and I had a slow shutter. I didn't know what I was doing. Like the shots, you can't even see the people. They're like lines of stuff and it's black and white and like, but they liked it for some reason. I moved here in 2004 to San Luis Obispo County. I literally was just kind of joining that community college brigade of just trying to get my general ed done and taking some classes to fit that like module basically. What got me really into photography was the first class. It was a darkroom class with a professor named Jefferson Clark, and he's still local. And actually we still do talk. So we kind of have that like peer aspect now instead of a student and teacher, which is really cool now. Loaded film into a camera. He showed me how to do some things and I started taking pictures every day for that class. Not really thinking much of it, but then Friday open labs are kind of what drove me to be a photographer. When I say open lab, every Friday Cuesta had an open lab. And it enables students to work on their assignments or personal work. And the coolest part about Open Labs was Jefferson. He was the guy that ran them. And all he did was talk about his art and work on his art there. And it was cool being able to see a professor or an instructor do something, because I never experienced that before in high school, like actually seeing a professor's art. Someone that I looked up to as a mentor or a teacher actually working on something instead of just teaching you about it and struggling with it and learning in the darkroom alongside his students. That was really inspirational. That went along with one of my first friends was a guy named Danny. He was a bassist in a band called New Tomorrow here. And he was just joining with them. We became friends like in a math class. And he's like, hey, you take photos, you should come to one of my shows. And I was like, sure. Had no idea what I was doing. I had a flash, I had a camera, it was film, like I couldn't see the image, unlike today where you could see it on the back of the camera. I was like, yeah, I'll go, I know how to do some stuff. And just capturing the moment. And then Jefferson teaching me things. Between those two people, it brought me to fall in love with photography. If you're from here and you're watching this, a lot of the pop punk, kind of 2000 2006 to 2009 era. If they played live, I photographed them. Like From the Top, Heart to Heart, Nothing Ever Stays, Lauren Radis, a musician. I mean, Damian Castillo. Like it's like every local person that has played a show. I've probably Moonshine Collective, Seth from like Washitashi, like all these bands, like Briartone. I've shot every band, any type of genre. It's just I like doing it. And even if I didn't know them, I usually went to their show and shot them. And then because I photographed that show, they'd be like, hey, could you come to my next show and photograph it? Toured and did tour photography, and the difference between live photography and tour photography is you're documenting the tour, not just live. And the first time I really started doing that, I fell in love with that because I loved shooting behind the scenes stuff, either with the band, the fans, or the crew. I love shooting pictures of the crew, the sound people, the light guys, the venue, like just them hanging out. Like I love shooting that. The people in the green room, on the steps, signing autographs, to crying, like they're just the emotion of everything, or just a fan picture of them and their favorite musician. I loved that. And when I started doing that, I think like we were talking about people, I started falling in love with shooting people because I wasn't just shooting them playing, I was shooting the person. And I think getting that actually made me know them better too. Like I became better friends photographing them in that way than I did live. I learned on film. So for some reason, I've always liked film, especially black and white. I've like kind of tried to ask myself this question about like, why am I still shooting film? We don't need to shoot film. The digital cameras take great images. But what I've appreciated about film is it taught me a lot of patience, and it still teaches me patience. I mean, film photography has taught me a lot about myself being patient, and that's actually helped me in life, being more patient. I'm already a laid back individual, but patience is not laid back. Patience is totally different. So the process of shooting film depends on what camera I'm shooting, but I shoot 35 millimeter, I shoot 120, I shoot large format, like 4x5 or larger. Just being hands-on, controlling a camera. I mean, like this 4x5, it's literally a box with it's a squishy box, but it's a box with a lens, and there's no electronics going on. It's like as simple as photography could get. It might look complicated, but it's not. Digital cameras are way more complicated. A cell phone's more complicated than this. Film photography does that for me, digital doesn't. I mean, digital, I will take good photos, but for some, like landscape especially, it's like a patient thing. Shooting 4x5 people or like film with people, kind of like digital, you're kind of just shooting. But something about landscape photography with film is like a whole new, you just take away all that digital stuff so you don't think about it, and then you just shoot without looking at the back of a camera. And if you get the shot, it's like the best feeling in the world. Well, I'm looking for light and shadows because I'm shooting black and white, and those are the two things that I usually look for first. So this is a field 4x5. It's super portable because I like backpacking and hiking and traveling, so it's super compact. It's made by a company in the UK, and they hand make everything. This is a bellows system. This is the ground glass where you're going to be focusing through, back here. In theory, this is basically just a box with a lens on it. That's it. It's like the most simple you'll get. So I'm shooting kind of wide, so I'm going to try to get a little bit of this in the foreground with the marsh plants, I don't know what they're called, with the lake, and then the sun's going to go down hopefully a little bit more, and that's when I'm actually going to take the photo because it's a little too bright right now. So like 10 minutes when it goes down to the right and sets, kind of where that fog line is probably when I'm going to try to take a photo. And I'll take like a short exposure and a long exposure because I want to capture some movement in the lake. And this is what the film looks like. So there's one picture, one negative on that side and a negative on that side. I have two ISOs, 200 ISO and then 400 ISO. Unlike normal cameras, there's a little viewfinder. With bigger large format cameras for 4x5, 8x10 and higher, there's a giant ground glass. And then it works like an eye. With film cameras, they have a mirror in it. It flips the image so we could see it regular. Just like our brains work with our eyes. If we didn't have a brain, we would be seeing inverted every day. So cameras kind of mimic that. And nowadays, digital, the sensors are what do that. So like the film camera you're using now, if you didn't have that sensor in it, in a mirror, you would be seeing backwards the whole time. You'd be seeing me backwards. This doesn't have a correction. So when you look in here, your composition is flipped. So basically, I'm composing. I'm just trying to make sure my horizon line is straight because I'm shooting a pretty far away landscape. And on this ground glass, there's lines that I can match the horizon with, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't know if you can see it. If you want to come try to see it. I don't know if you can or not. Oh, kind of. Oh, sweet. So that's my composition. Take a picture in a minute. So that lifts it so I could take a photo. I'm gonna change my shutter one more time because the sun changed to a 30th because the sun moves quick, and I'm gonna take one picture. That was it. This side means it was unexposed. This side means it was exposed. So I flip it around so I know I took a photo with that. And then I'm gonna add a red filter because that'll make the sky up above a little more bluer. With black and white, what that means is it'll make the sky darker. The worst part about taking photos of landscape is landscape photographers wait for a certain moment and it's gone quicker than we think it's gonna be. And my moment is almost out. With a red filter, I have to make it 2 to 3 stops slower. So you could either do that with the aperture or the shutter. Shutter, everything's good. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I took 2 pictures. Cool. And I love water with light. I think it makes really neat photos. And that fog layer is gonna make the sunset actually, what happens when you have good clouds and fog, when you're having a sunset lasts longer because there's more of horizon to dip out and the light kind of reflects more off the clouds. And I'm gonna shoot with a 400th speed film because the light's gone down and I'm not doing a long exposure, so I kind of need more. Someone might kill me if they're a large format photographer. I don't know if you could see it with that camera, but you could see the branch right here. And then a little bit of the tree foreground, and then the foreground's here, and then there's the lake. And that's kind of what I was going for. I think it looks really cool. And my vision in my head for this photo is going to happen in the dark room. So I'm going to take this photo and I'm going to make it what I am seeing in my head possible in the dark room. And what that means is I shoot hopefully a good exposure. I want a really dark shot that's going to be vignetted. And so what I'm going to do in the dark room, if I get the exposure, is I'm going to make it even darker when I get in the dark room. Because I want that shot. Because I want it to look like we're not at Laguna Lake on this shot. Because I want it to look kind of like we're somewhere else. That's kind of what I'm going for when I take this. That's in my mind right now. So my aperture goes to 64. That's a pretty high aperture, which is perfect. So that's going to enable me to do a longer shutter because that's going to close my little opening really, really small. So that brings in less light, kind of what it would look like in black and white. So that's kind of what the image will hopefully sort of look like. So it's about a 15th of a second at f16. Everything's ready. I'm going to take one photo. Cool. For the last photo, I'm going to use a neutral density filter, and that adds more stops, makes it something darker. High aperture number is going to allow me to take a longer shutter. So I'm going to load my film, and if I'm lucky, those cars in the way background on the road over there, I might actually get like some light trails too, which might be kind of cool. There's a skunk. And that was a long exposure. All right. Cool. I shot what I needed to shoot. So here we are at the lab at Cuesta College where I teach and work. This is the film processing area. This is where I'm going to develop the film that I shot last night. So it needs to be put in a light tight container. And this is the film that I photographed with. There's 6 sheets. This holds all 6, and it's going to go in here. I'm going to walk into a room over there, and I'm going to turn off the lights, load the film, come back out and develop in light. All right, success. Loaded up, ready to go. It's in the canister. These are the leftovers. Water with a mixture of chemicals, get the right ratio. The first chemical is developer, which is here. You pour it in water, and then I'm gonna pour it in here. The water in first. Some people do this differently, and it's gonna take 5 minutes with the certain film I'm using. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna start my timer, so I'm on top of it. And I'm gonna agitate, and that agitates the developer and coats the film with that developer. So the stop bath, just like the name, stops the developing from happening. I'm gonna throw a little water in there. So this is the fix. It's the third process. For 5 minutes, I'm going to be fixing the film. Film has an emulsion on it, and it's coated and it's light sensitive. So with film, say like a digital processor or a digital sensor, that's what's picking up the light on like a new digital camera, like what you're looking at me through. But with film, we don't have a digital sensor, so there's film, and that's the emulsion, kind of acting like that sensor. And what happens is light hits the film emulsion and exposes the photograph. And on that film emulsion is little, tiny, can't even see, silver halide crystals. And those are what are light sensitive. And that's what makes your shadows, highlights, and all the tonal range, depending on what you're photographing. And developer develops that out of the image. So all the used stuff, the silvers that were exposed to light, get developed. And the leftovers at the end get washed out with the fix, so it could be brought into the light. The stop bath in the middle stops the developing from happening any longer, because if we didn't have stop bath, the developer would still run, and it would keep running its course, and your film would end up actually just turning all completely white or black, depending on how you shot it. I'm done with this. So after the stop bath, I'm going to use a fix that was left over in the developer and washes it off so it can't develop anymore completely. So after about 5 minutes, there's a fourth chemical that's not always needed in a darkroom, but it helps quicken the process. It's called HypoClear or PermaWash. And what that does is basically like a soap, and that kind of just washes off all the leftover residue from the chemicals that were on the film. And then it goes into the washer, and then from there we'll dry the film, and then hopefully the negatives turn out, and we'll go in the darkroom and I'll show you guys the darkroom. So the negatives look good. I'm gonna pick my favorite. I'm gonna put some in. So I'm trying to get my image in this rectangle, which is an 8 by 10. So I'm fine tuning my focus. So in this little microscope, you won't be able to see it, but it's really close, and I could see the actual grains, the silver grains in the picture. When you see those grains, that's when you know your image is in focus. So over to the left of me, I have a timer that sets how long the light goes on and off. I have a notebook to take notes. I have some tools that I probably will be using that I'll explain if I do use them. I have contrast filters and paper underneath, and I'm about ready to go. So I'm putting a different contrast filter instead of no contrast filter, and that's going to give me more black and white tonal ranges. So what I do is I section it off to 5 seconds each, and I do strips. The method I'm using is something that since the darkroom has been invented, this is how people do test strips. And then I take this sheet of paper and I throw it in the developer that's behind me. So just like film developing, there is developer, stop, fix, and then there's a water bath. And just like film, it's doing the exact same process with slightly modified chemistry. So a test strip is trying to figure out what time I want the whole print to be without making crazy guesses and not wasting paper. And I'm also checking my contrast and my aperture at the same time. And what this is going to do is after this little process, I'm going to bring this paper into the light so I could see what my image will look like. And you'll see when we get into light, we're going to see strips and lines through the paper. And then I'm going to pick which one I like best and make some adjustments with that. So this is the test strip. Basically, it goes in 5s. And I've been doing this for long enough where I kind of could I don't have to make a bunch of test strips to get to not the finished product, but more of a product that I like. So I kind of more looking at certain things where I'm already seeing contrast, I'm seeing light, I'm seeing that I want to what it's called burning, I'm seeing what I want to dodge, but I'm going to kind of stick in this area, and I'm going to make another picture or another paper enlargement is what they call them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to burn the highlights that I was looking at the test strip in the clouds, or not the clouds, but the sky. And then I'm also going to burn the corners, kind of like how I was talking about when I was out photographing this, to try to make it kind of a moody or dark image. Now I'm going to use this hole, I'm going to hold it over the lens, and that hole is going to project through and hit my paper. So only that hole is what's hitting that, and that's called burning, which means more light hitting paper makes darker, basically. And I'm going to double my time, because it's always better to double your time. Actually, I'm going to go even farther than that. And I'm going to try to just hit all the sky. So the darkroom, just like digital photography, you edit your images the way you want them. And this is how we edit in the darkroom. And if you're familiar with Adobe programs or any type of editing program, usually there's a burning and dodge tool somewhere in that. And this is actually where it came from. This is the burning, which makes things darker. This motion is also called sweep burning because it looks like I'm sweeping something. Yeah, so this is what I do. I could spend like all day in here on one print. Yeah. Hopefully in the light we'll be able to like see it looks grayer. Sweet. I'm just stoked I have a shot. I'm stoked to get home and scan the negatives. So this is from the negative, which was the one I was using in the darkroom. These are some of the notes I took while I was printing and enlarging. So the final notes are there. This is the test strip that I did at the beginning that goes 5, 10, 15, 20. And then I chose about 15. I printed it at 15 right here to show what it would look like. I made some alterations. I printed the original at 13, and then I did some burning around here and the sky, and then I changed it even more with some contrast changes. Did some dodging and burning, and then the contrast filter changed to make it a little grayer to not blend it in as much. When we were at the lake, when we shot that, I mean, we had to be patient because I was shooting film. I could have shot digital and we could have left, but I needed that moment to be blue hour. So, because I didn't have the technology that I do on a digital camera to get the light to be down a certain way. So like patience, film photography has taught me a lot about myself being patient, and that's actually helped me in life, being more patient. I'm already a laid back individual, but patience is not laid back. Patience is totally different. Music photography and how I dealt with people and bands taught me how to deal with photography in general and how to be a businessman, hustling myself. So like the same thing, like when I'm shooting food for a magazine, I'm hustling myself. I'm shooting for that magazine, but I'm trying to get that chef to hire me next time away from the magazine. And that's what I do now. So like food work, wine, culture, restaurants, chefs. So like between music photography, obviously music photography is not gonna make a lot of money. To this day, it's hard to make money in music photography. So I would take like jobs. I'd be like, oh yeah, like my friend family photos or whatever. It's not like my favorite thing to do, but it was money. And that's kind of how I made some money too. So it wasn't just music photography. I don't want to say like, yeah, I made money off music photography. That's not even the case. My money from photography was coming from families, restaurants, or whoever would hire me so I could go take photos of these bands. And then maybe I'd get lucky because a band would be like, hey, we could pay you. Yeah, persistence, but not like annoying persistence, but like a strive. Like you want to get somewhere, don't give up just because someone says no. Or like if someone says no, there's probably a way around that no. Or don't, like I said, like the venue says no, because a lot of people ask like a venue. Okay, let's ask the headliner. Headliner says no. Okay, what else could you ask the opening band? Opening band says yes. Now you're shooting a whole show. So because one person says no, you may want to shoot that headliner band. Your only way in might be that opening band that is local that maybe you don't know. And that's how you get into the headliner band. And that's what I did. Like local bands got me into shows to shoot punk bands that I looked up to. And yeah, maybe I only shot a couple songs, but like I said, every time they came back, I shot them again. Every time they came back, I shot them again. I made it obvious, like at the end of the show, I would go up to any band, they might know I was photographing them, I would say, thanks for the show. How do I get a hold of you? So I could send you the photos. Not asking for money, just so they could use my work. And I don't even care if they tagged me, but it's just me going up to that person. It could have been the sound guy, the manager, or the band. That's how I got into music photography. I learn every day. And I don't even learn by professionals. I teach kids that are 11 years old. I'll learn something new every day. I'm always open to ideas. I'm always open to challenging myself. I want to be sent into the unknown, just like music photography, touring sent me into the unknown.